Hi everyone, this is Chris with Harris Arms. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be one on more of a serious note. I've made, I guess, a video about gun pricing that was also kind of on a serious note, but today's video is about a gun issue. A gun issue that a YouTube channel, and that channel is the Tactical Advisor. If you haven't checked out that channel, you can type that in and go check it out. If I can, I'll add a link in the description below. But it's about a specific problem that he brought up with the SIG P365 XL. Back a couple of months ago, he brought up an issue with it wasn't his P365 XL, it was a friend of his. But it was an issue that his friend was having with the firearm, and it's a pretty serious issue. Now, I'm going to say a few things about what was said. I'm not going to get into any technical details about exactly why the gun malfunctioned the way it did. I'm going to give you my opinion on the problem as he laid it out in the video. And what I think about that, but there are going to be a few critiques here that I think are they're needed, and they're needed for a reason that I'll just lay it out. A couple of months ago, he made a video about the P365 having a problem. That P365 XL was sent back to SIG. SIG fixed it, and he gave an update video that was I think it was just uploaded today. And that updated video, I think, was uploaded today, which is December the 30th, still 2022. 2022 is almost over anyway. Happy New Year, early New Year, if I don't see you before then. But anyway, he uploaded an update video on that gun today. The gun had been sent to SIG, came back, and the gun was fixed. Now, the biggest critique that I'm going to have is not going to be so much in the initial video that he did back 2 months ago that's titled SIG P365 XL Major Trigger Malfunction. But my critique is going to be with the newer video, the updated video, in particular, maybe a little bit with the other one. And it's not anything personal against, and I'm sorry, I don't know the guy's name. I just know his YouTube channel. It's Tactical Advisor again. So it's nothing personal against him. I like his content. I like this stuff that he does. But I think he kind of went too far on this in the way that he portrayed this malfunction. So what is the problem? Well, let me kind of explain the malfunction that he presented in that initial video 2 months ago. Now, I don't have a P365 XL. I have the P365X macro here, which is perfectly safe. You can see all the way through. Look, you can see me almost anyway. Yeah, you see me there. No magazine, nothing in the chamber, right? So perfectly safe. But I'll show you on this macro the problem that he was portraying. Now, the problem that he was having, according to the way that I understood it through the video when I watched it, was that when the trigger was depressed, so when you get to the wall and then break that wall, as you did here, you'll hear the firing pin dropped. Well, that XL wasn't, the firing pin wasn't dropping most of the time, or some of the time, but sometimes it wouldn't. Right, every once in a while, maybe it would work, but then others it wouldn't. Now, once the firing pin dropped, he found that if he shook the gun, right, the gun would go off. Now, a serious problem indeed, a very serious problem, and a problem that SIG needed to be made aware of. And I do appreciate Tactical Advisor here for bringing that to their attention. Now, this is the only issue I've heard of, at least of that nature, with the P365. And I don't know everything within the gun industry. In fact, I know very little, but I am an 07 FFL, 02 SOT, so I am a firearms manufacturer and NFA items manufacturer as well. So I know a little bit about the way guns work. I don't know the internals of the SIG very well, so I won't speak on the technicals in here. I don't know the trigger, the trigger mechanism, the geometry that's involved with the sear, and so forth, but I won't get into it. I'll kind of speculate on what I think is going on. But that was the problem he was having, right? The problem was that the trigger would be pulled, it wouldn't go off, and then he could shake it, and shake it pretty hard and it would let go. Now, my speculation as to what that would be is that something was causing the sear to get caught up, and it wasn't fully disengaging on the trigger pull when it got to the wall. Now, or when it got ready to break. So when it gets to the wall and when it gets to here, when it's supposed to fall, something was causing it to hang up, and then that shaking was shaking it loose, and it was dropping. The firing pin was going forward. That's just speculation. I don't know exactly what SIG said. I know what they did. He said they just replaced, or not just, but they replaced the fire control group unit, I believe is what they did, which for me, that's the first thing I would have thought of too. There are just too many. I mean, you could go through the springs and such in here and maybe do some troubleshooting to figure out exactly what it is. But then it could be a part that's out of spec, something where the geometry's off a little bit, and why even risk the problem persisting, right? Okay, so a problem that it was having. Now, fast forward to the update video where they send the SIG off, they send the P365 XL off to SIG, and it comes back fixed. So now the gun's fixed, the gun works properly, and no beef there, right? I definitely appreciate Tactical Advisor bringing this to SIG's attention, sending the firearm off to SIG, right? But when he gets it back and he talks about it, okay, in the update video, the update on the major trigger malfunction of the P365 XL over at Tactical Advisor's video YouTube channel, on that video at time step about 3 minutes and 29 seconds in, he starts to talk about the gun being fixed, and of course he's showing the gun and he says, you know, they fixed it, it's ready, and then he makes this comment. He says, and at least it doesn't fire every time you shake it. Now, when I heard him make that comment, it threw me off. And to be honest with you, it didn't just throw me off. I looked in the comments, and there were other people that were thrown off by that comment as well. Because what that does is that implies, especially for someone who didn't have the full context of the first video and understood that he actually never made the claim that the gun just goes off by shaking it, right? Without the context of the first video, someone would jump to the conclusion that if you had that SIG P365 XL and you loaded a magazine in it and racked it around in the chamber, that if you shook the gun, it had a possibility of just going off, right? When that's not the problem he presented, and that's not the problem that was shown that the firearm was having. In fact, the problem itself wasn't really an inherently dangerous problem, because the firearm, as far as I know, according to the video that he made, it didn't just go off on its own. He had to have pressure on the trigger, right? So the trigger had to be depressed. You had to have pressure back on the trigger and then shake it, which allowed the sear to drop, right, and the firing pin to go forward and strike the round and discharge the firearm, right? So that's a totally different problem than if it was the fact that the gun was just being shook and it going off, right? And of course, this brings to mind a lot of the other mess that's going on in SIG with their P320s, supposedly just going off in holsters. And I don't say supposedly like I don't believe it. I'm sure that was happening in some of the instances. I'm not a SIG guy per se. I do like I like the SIG macro. I had a P365 XL before this, but as far as my relationship with SIG goes, there is none. They have no idea who I am. I paid full price for this gun. I paid full price for the P365 XL. Well, full price according to the dealer. So I get a little discount there, but I didn't receive anything from anybody for free, right? So I don't have any ties to SIG. I have no biases towards SIG. If anything, I'm a Glock guy. I love Glocks. I have a Glock 48 that I carry a lot. I have a Glock 19X that I'm having a lot of work done to. If you've seen a video, I've kind of documented the before there, and the after's coming up at some point. So I'm definitely not a SIG guy, right? So this isn't just me fanboying SIG like I like it, right? It's me understanding there was a problem with the firearm. It seems like a specific firearm in this case, because like I said, I've never heard of this problem out of any other 365s out there, and they've been out there for a long time. There are millions and millions of them out there, right? So I mean, when you talk about a one-off issue, it's really no different than someone going out and buying a car. 10 people going out and buying a car, and one of them getting one that has a little problem to it and has to go back to the dealer. Same type of situation. So is it the end of the world for SIG? No, of course not. And thank you again, Tactical Advisor. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name, and I apologize for that. Again, this is nothing personal. Thank you again for bringing that problem to the attention of SIG. My problem with your videos and what you said in specific is that you made it seem that there was this generalized problem with SIG, a problem with SIG in general, right? Or a problem with 365 XLs in general that was this issue with you pull the trigger and it doesn't go off, and then you shake it and it goes off. And then in painting a picture in the update video as though the problem was that you could just shake the gun and it would go off, right? That's being very inaccurate in a situation where accuracy is required, right? Because we don't want to just generally cast shade, if you will, over an entire company because of one problem. Right? Now you can point back to the problems with the P320s, sure, fine, but the 365 line is a completely different fire control unit. It's not the same thing at all as the 320. So it's a whole different animal. These have never been shown to just go off, and for you to I'm sure accidentally, but again, this is just to try to help clarify, for you to make a statement that could cause others to come to the conclusion that the P365 XL could have a problem, that you could have it loaded and just shake it and it goes off. That's pretty bad, right? That's a very bad take. SIG does well enough to lay questions onto their own name with the whole P320 fiasco without you sensationalizing this problem you had, this malfunction. Again, that's the point of the video. I just want to say that while problems like that do need to be brought forward, they need to be presented to SIG. And that's exactly what you did. It's exactly what the Tactical Advisor did. Again, I want you to go watch his videos, check it out. There's nothing. I have no animosity toward him. I think he does fine. He has good content. I appreciate a lot of it. But yeah, we need to be more accurate. You don't want to have people coming away with the idea that that all three SIG P365 XLs will have this problem or may have this problem in the future. When, again, to be honest, this is the first time I've heard of that problem. So, just to kind of conclude this video up, he found a problem with the SIG P365 XL. A SIG P365 XL. See the difference in being accurate and being loose with your words? At first I said with the P365 XL, which would infer that it's a general problem, rather than maybe not a one-off, but as far as I know, a one-off, but an indefinite type of problem, right? And say this is a problem with a specific P365 XL. That's what it means to be accurate, and to portray the problem for what it is. To make sure that you are clear in the fact that the gun wasn't going off without the trigger being depressed, right? The trigger was being depressed. Now, if it's the case that it was going off as well, like if you pulled it and it didn't go off, and you let it off, and then you can shake it and it'll go off with your finger completely out of the trigger guard, then you should have shown that and you should have talked about that in the video. But if not, right, the only thing you talked about was the trigger being depressed and you shaking it, right, and the gun going off, okay? It's a problem, yes, but it's not anything even in the universe of the gun going off without your finger on the trigger, right? Or even without ever depressing it in the first place, which your words could be taken that way. So it's kind of wanted to be a little more serious in this video about that. I think we need to be fair to all parties when we look to review a product of any kind, or we look to bring forth some kind of problem that we found. We want to not just attempt to paint things in the worst of lights. Not saying that Tactical Advisor, again, I'm sorry I don't know your name, but I'm not saying that that's exactly what you did. It's just in this instance, me knowing the context of the first video and watching the second video, that's the way it came off. I commented in the video itself. Maybe you'll read that, maybe you'll see this and correct it, and I would hope that would be the case. So that's pretty much all I had for this video. It was to bring that up and to try to bring some clarity to that situation. Now, does that mean that there's no problem with SIGs? Of course not. Right? Of course not. I'm sure there are some problems. There are problems out there. But the problem that he brought up in specific is not. Again, it's not really inherently dangerous if the gun's going off with your finger on the trigger. Right? It's not going off by itself. It's not going off without the aid of the pressure to the trigger. So yeah, while it's a problem that needed to be addressed, needs to be fixed, needs to be understood, it's not a problem that should cause anybody any concern about going out and buying a SIG P365 XL. From all of my experience with them, and I've had many rounds through the 365 line. They are very reliable guns. They have a good track record. So let's be a little more careful with our language, the way that we do these reviews, so that we don't come off in a way that could be considered dishonest. Right? Now, moving forward, I still have or coming up on the channel, and if you haven't done it yet, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It's the only way that my content can get out there to other people. I'm just a regular, everyday guy that carries every day, that likes to be involved in some of the things in the firearms industry because it's a part of my life, right? It along with the pastoring the two churches is what I kind of do. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are on this, and ask me questions about whatever. I love getting comments. And coming up later, I'm going to do a couple of videos. One on the T-Rex arms, the iron side holster, so that their OWB or outside waistband concealed carry holster, and how I like that. And I still have the Glock video coming up, and I'm going to try to put out 1 or 2 a week. I haven't done that recently, but it's because I'm trying to finish up my master's degree. If some of you may know that I am in seminary, working on a master's of divinity. So it's a master's set in pastoral studies, and I'm really close to being done. But to kind of give it that last little push, I'm taking a bunch of classes here over the next year. So it makes it tough to make these kind of videos. But this one, I wanted to get out there because, I think clarity in this type of situation is important, right? So thank you all for sticking around this long, and I'll see you later.